Hi, it's Wendy from Sunflower Publishing, and I'm absolutely delighted to welcome again Victoria Springfield. Following the release of her latest book, she's going to talk to us about. But before we get started, a quick author bio. Victoria writes contemporary, Wish You Were Here, evocative women's fiction set in Italy. Her feel-good books follow unforgettable characters of all ages as they deal with love, loss, friendship, and family secrets. Readers can feel the sunshine.
Hope so.
How does that sound?
That sounds all right. Yes, yes.
So the latest book that was released, was it last month now? Yeah, I
Yes,
think.
January.
Yeah. The Italian Village in the Hills. Right. First of all, title. Is this your title or publisher's title?
That is definitely publisher's title. Yes.
What did you
I
call it? What would you have called it?
I called it Love from Italy.
Okay.
And I don't
Right.
think anyone had used Love from Italy, so I was kind of surprised they didn't want to use that one. But they do lots of research into
Yeah.
marketing and what works and what doesn't.
Sure.
So, yes, because I thought, oh, that's a terribly long title, The Italian Village in the Hills. But in fact,
Yeah.
we've been looking lately, and quite a lot of books are coming out with longer titles with quite a few words in them.
Okay.
Surprised me. So there you are.
Okay. So
Mm.
give us a quick summary, a quick synopsis of the story, please.
Um, I'm really bad at doing this, summing things up, but it's basically a story of two women whose lives are changed when they go to this little village in the Ligurian hills, which is actually a fictional one. Though inspired sort of geographically and what it looks like, etc., from Ceriana in Liguria, which is sort of north of San Remo. Um, we've got Stella. Stella starts the book. She's not far off turning 60, and she's having a rather awkward dinner date with her new with Joe,
Yeah.
who she's met online and she's been dating for a few months. And I don't think it gives too much away to say that in that first chapter, Joe proposes, and then he decides to whisk her off for a trip to Liguria. And she is not expecting to go back to the village where she grew up because that has not got good memories for her. And she left under a bit of a cloud.
Yeah.
And
But we don't know why at this point.
no, absolutely not. No,
The
no.
hints are superb. I mean, I picked out, let me just find mine. Once I'll just read out what I'd written because you know that Italy has a place in Stella's heart, but
Yes.
we don't
Mm.
know why.
No.
And once she and Joe were married, Stella would take over the cooking. She'd make mescua with chickpeas and grains, veal belly stuffed with vegetables and cheese, and she'd chop green bunches of basil to make bright, fresh pesto the way she'd learnt it back in the village. It's so haunting, isn't it? What does that mean? What village?
Mm,
What Back in the days when her mother's kitchen was still a place of energetic endeavor, warmth, joy, and love. I can't believe you can pack so much into a couple of sentences that connects the food, it connects Italy, and tells the reader that once upon a time
mm.
Italy was a huge part of Stella's life.
Yeah.
Okay, go on, keep going.
And then we have Amy, and Amy's kind of the opposite end of the sort of age spectrum. She's
Yeah,
just finished at university and she doesn't really know what to do with herself. Her younger brother is on a gap year. He's very adventurous, and she is just a bit of a homebody. And she's her grandpa comes to the rescue and says, you can come and sit in the shed with me in the summer, and because I want you to type up my memoirs.
Mm.
And her parents think, oh, that's a great idea because you can put that on your CV and you don't have to say you were working for your grandpa. You can just say you were doing this job.
Lovely.
So,
Yes.
so she thinks she's all set. And also, they love to make pots together in the old, potter's wheel in sort of Grandpa Lance's shed. And unfortunately, Grandpa Lance, this is again very at the beginning of the book, passes away and throws her sort of summer into sort of disarray. She's now completely sort of lost. He's the one person who really understood her, but he's left her this a necklace, which is sort of in half of a sort of Italian lira coin, and a couple of mysterious postcards. So
Mm.
she ends up going off to Italy to the place where he lived prior to the Second World War with his family when he was young. And she goes to try to find out more about him, and her search leads her to this funny little village in the hills, where she then encounters Stella, and a lot of other
Yeah,
things
and a lot
happen.
of other
Yes,
things
a
happen.
lot of other things happen. Mm.
The inspiration for this story, where's that from?
Do you know, I when I finish writing a book, I always think, where on earth did I get
Where
that
did I get
from?
that from?
Yeah, it's really strange, and I, I- this one. Where did I get this one from? I'm not too sure where this one came from, really. Yeah.
It's
Mm,
quite nice that we've got Stella,
mm,
who's, a woman of a certain age.
yeah.
We've got Amy fresh out of university. As the reader gets into it, we've got these different characters, and
Mm,
where's this going? How will this pan out? And it does absolutely beautifully. How, and I'm sure that must be part of real life
mm,
somehow, that you've got different people, different places, different parts of the world, but something draws them to a place where something magical
mm.
happens.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I
This,
think the theme of my books is really that, in all of them, somebody going to Italy or going
yeah,
back to Italy
yeah,
will be the kind of catalyst
yeah,
for change and a change in their life, a
yeah.
development internally to themselves, how they feel about things, as well as actual events happening to them. And
Are you
yeah.
when you
Mm,
plan this, I don't know whether you write it down on paper or it's in your head. Do you think, yes, I'm going to have these characters, right? Amy, how can I get Amy to Italy? What could be the catalyst to get Amy, who's been at university, to Italy? And you come up with a very plausible story. She's incredibly close to her grandpa.
mm,
The grandpa's going to, he talks about the memory box. She knows
yeah.
that. And then after his death, sadly, that's it. That's it. She has the memory box. So, what is this necklace with this half lira coin on it? And that gets about, where does that come from, Victoria?
This is the really weird thing. I think I must have been thinking about. I think I must have a coins in the back of my mind because
Right.
um, my stepmother was clearing some stuff out from our house, and she found some coins in a bag. Um, that she said, "Oh, this must have come from like your mum from years back, because my mum and dad had gone on quite an adventure at the early '60s in a camper van driving around what was then behind the Iron Curtain, etc." And amongst these coins was, she said, there's some coins from Afghanistan or something. And I thought, well, I'm sure they didn't go there. And I didn't actually, I kept thinking I must somehow investigate if they ever went there, which seems very unlikely. I know they went to Romania and places like that, but not, I'm sure, that far. So no idea where that came
No.
from. And I think that maybe must have been in my subconscious or something. This is
Right.
one a really strange one where I'm not sure really where this one really came from. And also, quite often I'll start. a book and it turns out to be quite different than I expected. Because
Okay.
originally, Stella's got a daughter, grown-up daughter in
Yeah.
this book,
Yeah.
and she's very, very minor character. But when I started writing it, I thought this was going to be a sort of mother-daughter story, and that Lauren was actually going to come out to Italy, and that
Right.
this
Right.
was all going to, and in fact, Lauren doesn't come out to Italy at all,
No.
and I
No.
ended up
There's
going. I
some
think
lovely
once,
phone
mm,
calls, though, aren't there?
yes,
Mother,
yeah,
what are you doing now? Why do
yeah,
you think, you were responsible for this? Mother,
yes,
for goodness sake. There are some lovely touches in there, aren't there, really? And we've got a little bit, which is not generally your style, to have a
mm,
bit of historical fiction
mm,
going on as well, which I think just adds another lovely dimension to it,
mm,
doesn't it? Did you have that in your mind, how you could
yeah.
connect these cat? Right,
Yes,
right.
I knew that what I didn't want to do, I didn't want to write a dual timeline, and I didn't
No,
want to write like a historical novel because a lot of people have written, there's a lot of books set in the Second World War out there, and for people
yeah,
who are,
yeah,
that's their sort of specialism, they're very good at writing historical books, etc. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to look at things that happened in the past,
yeah,
and some of that goes back to the war, but it's nothing, we're not there. We're how people sort of how that's reverberated down the generations to still affect people today, with what happens in the past, which set off, it's kind of lingered in their families. Sort of stories and resentments and people who they like and don't like, and that's kind of affected to kind of Stella's generation from what
sure.
happened before
Yeah,
she was born, and
yeah.
that's what I kind of wanted to look at,
Lovely.
and do that rather than, so we only go back into the 1940s in one chapter
Yeah,
kind of thing, yeah, but obviously the outcome or the kind of
yeah,
effect of it is there, you know.
absolutely.
Mm,
Just before we started to record, I
mm.
asked how the book had been received. For me, I thought this was the best one that I've done. I mean, I've read, I think about three of yours now.
Mhm.
I'm losing track now. With you've
Yeah.
done so many, prolific writer as you are. Just going back to the list we've got now, we've got One Summer in Italy,
Mhm.
Italian Holiday, The Italian Island Secret, Invitation to Italy. I've definitely done that one.
Yes, yes, we talked about that
Farmhouse
one.
in
Mm.
Tuscany and The Italian Fiance.
Yes.
So I mean, that's really quite a profile now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's I never thought I could write so many books, honestly. I obviously spent some time writing the original, the first one, The Italian Holiday, and um that was a two-book deal. So I also did a
Yeah,
farmhouse in Tuscany, which is sort of set in the riding stables in Tuscany, and I had spent some time at the riding stables in Tuscany. Um and then yes, it's amazing that I've actually I'm surprised myself that I've managed to come up with things,
that
and
you've done this.
I always think I'm never going to come up with another one, but somehow
When
it
you have
happens.
a writer that I'm not saying formulaic, I suppose that sounds a bit sort of
Mm,
J.K. Rowling-ish, doesn't it? Or to be formulaic. But sometimes when you look at the reviews and people say, "Oh, it's not as good as the last one," and I can't imagine the pressure that an author feels to and the publisher
mm.
to ensure that this is every bit as good as the previous ones. I thought this was the best one that you've written. I really
Thank
did.
you. Yeah.
I thought this was an absolute knockout. It was a beautiful story. But I don't suppose you know that, do you, until it's out there as a published book?
No, and it
That's really,
surprises me. Yeah, it's sometimes the ones that I think are not, you know, it's I don't. when I'm writing them, I kind of think, oh, is it a bit obvious or is it a bit
No,
whatever? And
not
I
at
kind of
all.
and
No.
so sometimes I'm surprised by which ones that people particularly like. It's like
Yeah.
Invitation to Italy in
Yeah.
Procida. I thought, oh, I'm not sure it's as good as the one three a couple before, and in fact, that one seems to that one was really popular in terms of what reviews and things. And again, this one, you see, I love this is the third one I've done for Boldwood, who are my new publisher, and the
Mhm.
first two were shall I just wave on camera? Actually, I've got them right here: An Italian Island Secret
Yeah.
and Ischia.
They're gorgeous
So I
covers,
love
aren't
this one.
they?
This is
They're
probably my
really.
favorite. And then I had One Summer in Italy, which is Venice.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
kind of thought when I wrote An Italian Island Secret, I thought, oh no, this is my best one. My other ones aren't going to be as good. And this one, the new one, the Italian Village in the Hills, oh, I don't like it as much. Um, but then I get really into them when I'm writing them, but I
Yeah.
find it very hard to judge. And I
Yeah.
kind of sat back and thought, I don't know how this one's going to go. And in fact, this one seems to be particularly liked and particularly popular. So you just don't
You
know.
can't put your
Yeah.
finger on it, can you? I mean, I
No,
know
no.
when I talk about formulaic, and I'm thinking, my husband likes Lee Child,
No.
but
Mm.
and he's read all of them. But when I say, oh, if you read this one, he'll say, well, I don't know. They're all the same.
Yeah.
They're all the same. They've got the same protagonist, and they've got the same this and the same that. And I don't know whether I've read that one or not. I mean, but they still sell very well
Mm.
because it's Lee Child and that's how they do it.
Yeah.
But I suppose you don't want to get into that, well, I'm a lead
Mm.
child and I'm just going to keep churning out, put my hero in Italy and then, I think readers want more than that.
Mm.
I think your followers deserve more than that, don't
Yeah.
they, really?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know how you feel about it, really. I suppose but you need to, you want to produce something really quite unique,
Yeah.
quite different.
Yes.
How do you feel about writing all these books in Italy? Are there any other regions in Italy that you'd like to write a story about?
I don't think well, I know I'm not going to run out of places in Italy,
No, I
that's for
don't
sure.
suppose you will.
Yeah, I definitely try to write each book to be completely different. That's why
Yeah,
people
yeah,
sometimes say, "Are they a series? Do you write a series?" And I say no
yeah,
because
yeah.
I don't want to go back to the same place twice. I
No,
mean, never say
no,
never, but
no.
I want to I want a different story. I want different people. I want a different setting. What I've done so far is I've concentrated on certain regions, and they're regions that I know better or I've visited more. So I've got Tuscany for obviously a farmhouse in Tuscany, and the Italian Fiance, which was set
Yeah,
in Lucca, which I
yeah.
we used to go to a lot when when I was sort of school age. We used to, as a family, we used to go there a lot. And then I've actually managed to, kind of going around the islands off Naples, which I've been
Right,
to a lot
right,
with my husband.
right.
So an Italian island secret was Ischia.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
actually had 5 holidays there, and then obviously invitation to Italy was Procida, and I've got one, you know, top secret. But yeah, in later this summer, I've got one that's set in Capri. So,
Oh,
but I mean, that's not.
we've got some
Yeah.
islands near us, about an hour away, called the
Mm.
Tremiti Islands.
Oh yes. Mm.
We haven't been yet, but I mean, we've done. I like islands.
I like islands. Mm.
We have done Capri.
Mm.
We've done Elba because they have such a unique. Even though they're
Mm.
Italian, they have such a unique kind of a character.
Definitely, definitely.
But
Mm.
maybe Tremity is worth looking at. For some
Mm.
reason, it had the reputation of. It's very colourful.
Mhm.
Was it during the Second World War? Mussolini banned many homosexuals to Tremity.
Oh, right. Yes.
So I
Um,
don't know whether that's why it's more colourful there, or I don't know.
mm,
But again, as you say, islands, they have such a unique character.
yes.
So that if something's going to happen, and it might well happen on an island, because there's just so much magic there, isn't there?
Mm.
Really, on the island.
Yes, and it's
Um,
almost like a closed room thing.
yeah,
Like there's
yeah,
more sort of it's more intense just because of the
absolutely.
place. And they've all, I mean, you only have to look at sort of those three islands of Naples, and they've all got completely different character. Um, and yeah, now I'm doing quite a bit, I suppose, it in around Liguria. I mean, I've got this one book, but I've also got other things I'm planning. So those are kind of regions that I spent more time in. But obviously, there's like what is it, 20 regions of Italy, of which quite a lot of them I've never even been to. So,
I'm
uh,
doing a
mm,
series at the moment on Substack
mhm,
whereby I look at each region and I research why people would write books about that particular
mhm,
region and what books have been written in that region.
yeah,
And they're amazing, absolutely amazing, because the regions are so different, aren't
yes,
they?
yes,
Um, One thing I wanted to ask you about is the authenticity
mhm,
of what you write. And I can spot this with people because I live here.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's always something that I look for. And there was a beautiful, beautiful few lines that you had written, and I'm going to read this out.
mhm,
And it's about the details of daily life. Now, I know this to be absolutely true because when I walk through my little town of
mhm,
Bizenti, the houses are very close together, very
mhm,
narrow. So at lunchtime, the streets are deserted, nobody's around. And as you walk down the streets, you can hear the TVs in the houses,
mm,
you can hear
yeah.
people talking, and the smells of the lunch just waft across your path. And guess what? You've absolutely nailed it when you say archways, narrow passageways, walking on stone steps, bowed from the tread of 1,000 feet. Post-lunch sounds emanate from lace curtains, televisions humming, and the clatter of washing up. I that's just amazing. That's absolutely beautiful. And that's so true. That really is. In the winter, when you walk through
Mhm,
these villages, especially maybe 4, 5 o'clock at night in the winter, again, you get the noise from inside and the
mm,
TV, and you get the smell of the wood smoke that it's just not like anywhere else ever. Not like England or anything like that. And but you absolutely beautifully, beautifully talk about what that's like. It's so true. Honestly, Victoria is so
Thank
true.
you. Thank you. Yeah, I do quite a lot of just wandering around
Well,
and
yeah, clearly
looking at
you do.
watching people and
Yeah,
sort of walking down, you're sort of on a even if I'm like in inverted commas holiday place, then
yeah,
I'll kind of wander off and wander down the back streets and I'll
yeah,
walk past where the laundrette is or
yeah.
whatever, and I'll walk and
It's
I'll
just
walk
like
down
that.
people's houses, and you sometimes see people giving you a bit of strange look, like, why are you walking down here? There's nothing down here but someone's garages, like it's like should look like you're lost or
When
something.
you're
I'm just
doing
your
this,
nose.
when you're doing your research and you are walking through a little town and you
Mm,
notice these things, especially at lunchtime,
mm.
because there's not a soul about in
No,
my
no.
little,
Mm.
no one. They're all having pasta. They're all having lunch. How do you record those moments? Do you write them down? Do you take photographs? How do you record that and then later use that in a book?
I do take quite a few photographs.
Okay.
I mean, I'll take occasionally a photograph that I could use for social media or something, but I'll also take photographs that I would never use because they've got people, they're too much of a too intrusive or whatever. So if I, I might surreptitiously take a picture of someone who looks interesting or standing or doing something in a certain way from a distance, but I would never then use that. I just use that
No,
to
no.
remind me of a character or something. But a lot of times I just put someone in, I just get people in my head. So, so I've got people in my books who I've seen in
Right.
Italy, though I've only seen them for a minute or two. In one book, I've actually got two people I saw on a plane to Italy, and I thought, oh, you look just like the sort of person my character's going to meet when you're out there, and you look like this other guy. You look like the dastardly Gianluca from Italian Island Secret. You're too good looking for your own, for your own sake, kind of thing. So I'm going to had kind of got this guy in my mind, and I thought I'll use him. Never spoken to him, just walk past him down the aisle of the aeroplane. But I do write little notes sometimes. I'll notice things. I like the way people. When I was in the little village of Cheriana for this Liguria one, I would sit outside the cafe for ages and just watch people standing on corners talking to each other. And you see these like groups of old men,
Yeah,
and they'd have a certain way of
yeah,
standing with their
yeah,
hands behind their back
yeah.
and their fingers laced together, and this kind of sort of stance, which is and that kind of thing, just watching these sort of people and what they're doing. And then I just occasionally I scribble a little note, but I usually tend to just
You
keep it in
must
my
be a
mind.
very good observer of people. I mean, to be able to look at people, how they're standing, how they're talking, or even the
Mm,
towns. I mean, stone steps bowed from the tread of 1,000 feet. My goodness me, they really are.
mm,
They really are. It's so like that. You might see. I mean, one thing that you see so much in Italy is when the washing goes out,
yeah.
and there's just, very Sicilian, isn't it? There's
Mm,
just rows and rows. It's so Italian. For me, I just love the authenticity of your books. I mean, okay, Francis May's Under a Tuscan Sun. Yes, okay, we've all seen it, read the book, but it's not like that. It's
mm,
a million living in Italy, or buying a house in Italy. It's just a million miles from that portrayal of what
mm,
Italy's like. Whereas you have an unbelievable clarity and authenticity in your books. And I just admire that. Because I think, yeah, I live here. I can see that. I know that. I know it's like that. I think that's absolutely wonderful. So this one, so you've got a lot to
mm.
prove now, haven't you? You've got to get the next book. What a lot of pressure you put yourself under,
Mm.
don't
Yes.
you?
Yeah, I've
Gosh.
I've got my next book is with my editor.
Oh,
She
right.
hasn't yet read it, so but the one I'm writing now, I mean, this is a tricky one, Wendy, that I'm writing now, and I tell you what's tricky about it is I've got three main characters who are all actually Italian now, and that's why I'm really hoping that I can. This is when I'm now worrying about the authenticity because so far I've had my main character tends to be English, or they've lived in England for a long time, and they may be there's other characters who are Italian, or there's Italian love interests, or there's Italian people in there. But this one's worked out just for the story that I've got three people, three of the main people are actually Italian. So this is, it's it's quite. I hope I'm not
I'm
overstepping
sure
myself.
you're
I hope
not.
I'm going to
I'm
manage to
sure
pull
you're
it off,
not.
you see.
Do you
Yeah.
speak any Italian?
Not very well. Yeah. You know what
Okay.
it's like I mean, I actually wrote an email to someone in Italian the other day and I wasn't even speaking. She wrote back in English and I thought, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, I've only
Yeah.
written three sentences in Italian and I just thought I'd check them and obviously they didn't come over. They still closed shows.
Well,
I clearly wasn't
we,
Italian,
I
but
mean,
mm,
yesterday we went into an agricultural shop locally for some product or other. So we're studying this product, we're studying the shop, and there's tractors and because it's an
Hmm.
agricultural region. You know,
Yeah.
we're looking at all these things, and I'm saying to Duncan, well, Google the word. What is it you want? Axle grease. Well, Google it. Whatever axle grease is, I haven't a clue what axle grease would be. So we stand there for 10 minutes Googling all these things like axle grease and and lubricate and all this sort of business. And we walked up to the till and we showed the gentleman, the phone, and he said, "How may I help you?"
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
We said, "What? What? How do you speak English?" He said, "I was born in the States."
Oh, well. Well,
And it happens every time. It
yeah.
happens every single time that by the time you've worked out what you want to say, they
I
just
know.
speak to you in English. But anyway, that
Mm.
I digress. What I'd like to ask you about this book, a couple of questions. I don't want to put you on the spot or anything,
You're
but
right. Well, I'll try. I'll just tell you if I can't answer them. So we'll see how we get on. Yeah.
what would you hope that readers take away from this book?
Oh, I think just it's a nice, hopeful story. I think with all my books, I want people to put the book down and feel that sort of everything's all right with the world.
Yeah,
As a friend of mine said, when I read one of your books, I know it's going to end up and have that sort of warm, fuzzy feeling that
yeah,
it that it's all is right in the end. Not necessarily everything perfect, but certainly optimistic, I think.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
No, I think that's a
Mm,
really good answer. I
yeah.
mean, we know there are secrets in the book. We know
Mm,
there are things going on that we don't really get to
yeah.
know
Hmm.
until the end of the book. And like you say, when you do it's nice to have a resolution at the end. Not for
No.
everything.
Mm,
We can't change the course of history.
no.
And
Yeah.
as you've said, there is a chapter that goes back and deals with
Hmm.
Second World War. So you can't change history. But if you can get a bit of a resolution
Mm,
in life, then I mean, I'm rooting for Stella. I'm really rooting for Stella because I mean, yeah, this guy that she's dating at the beginning. No, I don't really like him much at all, to
mm,
be honest. There's a bit of a control thing going on, and
mm.
we're going here, we're going there, we're doing this, we're doing that. I'm so rooting for Stella to just have
Blossom. Mm.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Did you encounter any surprising discoveries while writing this book?
Oh, well, I did quite a bit of, I don't want to, I can't say this without giving
Yeah,
away things, but I did read around the whole sort of topic of Italy at that time,
yeah,
which was interesting. I knew a little
yes.
bit of it, so that was very interesting. Um,
As you were
yeah.
saying,
Mm,
with Italy, because of the history of Italy in the Second World
mm,
War and the changing sides and Mussolini and, more, I mean, it just wasn't like England where
no.
everyone
Mm,
wanted the end of the war and they wanted to see an end to Hitler. This in Italy was such a divided father against son, mother
mm,
against, whatever. Um, and that does come through in the book how divided it would have been, and that's not a
mm.
secret. It really was. It
Yeah.
was very, very difficult for people, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
partisans and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
So that was very interesting. Yeah.
yeah, I can
Mhm.
imagine. I never really knew a great lot about Italian history. I think I've learnt more living here because I'm
Mhm.
just interested in, how it is what it is, really.
Yeah.
How many drafts did the manuscript go through?
What I tend to do is I try to go from without too cliche. I try to go from the beginning to the end before I
Okay.
do too much. So,
Right.
but what I'll do is I start. I'll write. I kind of I think up a bit, then I handwrite it, then I type it, then I print it
Okay.
off. When I print it off, I reread it, I read it aloud and make changes. I mean, obviously, that is not the perfect finished thing of that bit. Those 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages of typed A4 paper before I then handwrite the next bit, or I'll make changes on the manuscript it by pen or pencil even, and then I'll carry on writing it. Then I'll type up. Sometimes when I'm typing the changes and I'm on the roll, I'll carry on typing and I'll just tack up the next page or a few
Right.
paragraphs. I'll just be typing straight onto the Word document, but it'll still need printing off and changing it. And then I'll try not to go back too much unless I suddenly think, oh, I know that that chapter's going to come later, or I don't want that to happen yet. But I usually just put a note next to it, like save for later or something, if I think I'm giving away something too soon. And then when I finally get to about 50,000 words, then that's the time I start planning, kind of thing. In the sense of I just write down everything that I need to happen before I get to the end of the book, probably.
Oh, right.
But just literally one sentence like so and so meets so and so finds this or loses that, or moves here or takes a
So,
road trip or whatever it is that's happening. Just literally one sentence. So I've got like a one sheet of paper, just like a few lines, and I think I need to make sure I cover all that between now and the end of the book, kind of thing.
so this is done on a Word doc on your laptop. You don't use any kind of writing pro aid, Scriveners. You don't use
No, no,
anything.
no, no, no.
No,
I'm not very
nothing
techy.
like
I
that.
prefer, I've got like I have a notebook for each book. Actually, this is the one for the new one that I'm writing. I just
They'll
yes,
be
and I
worth a
look back
lot
at
of
it.
money after you've gone, your notebooks, won't they?
I don't think so. But no, yeah, and I just like, and then I look back at it and I think, oh, and I actually look back and I think that book didn't turn out much like my what I originally wrote down, you
Right.
know. So it's initial sort of thoughts and things and scribbles and notes and things in there. But the actual writing is just on one document from sort of start to finish. And then what I do is I just when I get to the end, I then print the whole thing out, even though I print bits out, and I start reading it. And as I go through, I just think, oh, chapter four, what a load of waffle that is. We don't need that. We already covered that in chapter two or chapter six and seven. So sometimes, like, whole of chapter four will come out. Normally, about 10% comes out, which I just think repetition, waffle, don't need it. Um, or we've gone off on a tangent about this character, but in fact, this character didn't really not much happened with them. It's like with Lauren, Stella's daughter, because she was originally going to be a bigger part of the book. There was a
Yes,
whole
yes.
scene where Joe goes around to meet Lauren, and they have
Oh,
this like they're in Lauren's
oh.
house, and Lauren was sort of like she doesn't think that much of him, kind of thing. And Stella kind of resents her daughter telling her how to live her life. Um, but that whole mother-daughter thing ended up not being, you know, what
When you get
it
the
was
edits
about.
from your
Mm.
editor, are there things that you think, no, I'm not taking that out. I want, how much collaboration, discussion, disagreement, if any, do you have with your editor on any cuts?
Well, fortunately, my editor, I'll just talk about the one I have now because my editor at my last publisher was lovely, but the person I have now, she doesn't hasn't changed a lot. It's more
Oh,
quite often think it's well, I never say never. I don't know what she's going to say about the new book, but it's more the fact she'll say, oh, we need to bring out a bit more motion with this person. So I'd
okay.
like to see a bit more of this person, or I'd like to. There was a bit in the end of the Italian Village Hills where I had left something. I kind of thought, well, we know that's going to happen, but I didn't actually put it on the page. And she said, no, I want to see. I can't just say what it is because obviously it's very near the end of the book. But she says, no, I want to see that actually happen. I don't want to just think, oh, yes, that's going to happen. That's
Right,
obviously going to
right.
happen. We know that's worked out. I actually want to see those two people, together doing whatever near the
Is
end of the
it
book.
really
Mm.
important to have, I mean, I don't write, but I mean, is an editor almost like a hairdresser, someone that you feel completely safe with. That she's never going to suggest anything that you don't like. You feel
Mm.
quite in tune with, like your
Oh,
hairdresser kind of.
I've had it, yeah. My editor, my current editor is actually half Italian, which is really
Oh,
useful.
right,
Yes, yes. So
right.
her family's from Veneto region, so she
Oh,
can. It's quite good because she has to pick me up on a couple of points occasionally where she thinks I've actually not quite got something right, which is good. But oh, I know I did on my second book with my previous editor. She actually said that she didn't think my my main characters should end up with the love interest that she was ending up with, and she ought to meet someone else. And I
oh,
just like, what? And I thought, no, this whole book, the whole point of this book is that she gets,
yeah,
she's
yeah,
with this person, and it's
yeah,
all this relationship. And I just said to her, look, if I haven't convinced you that these
yeah.
two people ought to be together, which I clearly haven't, then I haven't done a good job. So I need to
Right.
go back. She is not meeting somebody else. Because
Mm.
who on earth
You've
is she
got to
going to
have the
meet?
same
I've
vision.
introduced a whole new person throughout
Yeah,
the book for her to end up with.
sure.
I said, no, I have to go back and I'll have to go back and tweak this character so you think he's worthy of
Okay.
ending up with her.
Oh,
Because
really?
she thought I made him, he was a bit of an arrogant kind of type. But I mean, perhaps that's not quite so popular for the modern reader. He's a bit sexist, I suppose, a bit of an unreconstructed kind of sort of a bit of a temper. Well, not temper
Yeah,
like an angry temper, but
yeah,
just a bit
sure.
flies off the handle and is a bit he's a bit difficult. So I had to make him a little bit more and knock off a few of his rough edges so that she felt that these two people should be together, who were
Right.
destined to be together. So that was a bit of a horrible, that was a bit of a
I
shock.
mean, until you're in that position where you have a publisher and you
Mm,
have an editor or
mm,
contract or whatever, I don't suppose anybody quite realizes how this collaborative
yeah.
process works. I mean,
Mm,
to us, it's your book, it's your baby, it's your story, and you don't really want anything significant changing. But then the editor, the publishers, they've been in the business
mm,
for, many
yeah.
years, and they probably, like you say about the title, they have more of an idea of what's going to sell. But in a way, don't they really, title wise? So,
Mhm.
but that must be quite a learning process for you to go through, is it, with an editor?
Yeah, I think my editor has made the books better.
Right.
Definitely makes the books better because they've got
Right.
that more they're more neutral, if you see what I
Yeah.
mean. It's difficult to see things when you've written it because
Yeah.
and also because you know what's happening in the story next and you know the characters. So you can never quite step back quite far enough as a reader who doesn't know what's going to happen further down the line with these
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, sorry, I've kind of lost what the
No, no,
question
no.
was. Sorry, yeah.
The process is
Mm,
interesting. It really is. Which character in
mm.
this book would you relate to the most and why?
In the current book.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, I think it would have to be Stella
Yeah.
because, I'm more Stella's age than Amy's
Yeah.
age.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But you
Mm,
have what there's one character that we haven't really spoken about, and that is and she comes in fairly soon at the beginning of the book. We have a beautiful character called Fernanda.
hmm
And I'm looking to see if I've got any have I got any yeah, I've got one. I've got one. This is Fernanda. Fernanda's age, what would you say Fernanda's age is?
Oh, now I did work it out what it was. She
Good.
was
80,
about,
mid
she's in
80s.
her 80s. She's in her 80s because obviously the book was probably set 2024, so she's yes, that's 80 years after that. She's about 86 or something. She's
About
quite old, yeah, yeah.
86.
She's in her 80s because she was a child during the Second World War.
So early on in the book, we do move to Italy and
Yes. Mm,
we see Fernanda, the devout Fernanda,
yeah.
cleaning the church of St. Agatha.
Mm,
She's ostracized by the villagers because of something that happened years earlier, but we don't know what. But
hmm.
Father Filippo, the priest, has something to discuss with her.
Yeah.
And this is a quote from the book. It's really beautiful. Oh, sorry, I've
Yeah.
got the age in here as well.
Yeah.
She was so frail that her 87-year-old body creaked and groaned as she bent over her broom. So, a lady with a past, and she sweeps away her sins, praying for herself and her dear departed sister. In two sentences, I've never known anyone like you that just nails what you want to say with what's going on in two
Mhm.
sentences. I don't know how many times you rewrite this because it's poignant. She's old, she's devout, we know that, and sweeping away her sins with a broom. It's so figurative. It's just beautifully done, isn't it? I have to say. Do you think it is?
Thank you. Yeah, I like that one. I mean,
I
sometimes
like that
there's
one.
bits I just write and then they just come out and then they're fine. I don't change them. And there's other bits where I like write the same paragraph out quite a lot of different times, different ways, trying to try to get the essence of something without too much. You know,
I mean,
sometimes I think my fault is sometimes I'll write six sentences and I think I don't need six.
oh
I can
right.
get away
Oh,
with three,
well,
you know.
in two a sentence, in two or well, this one
Mm,
was two sentences, really. You know, the frailty. She's 87. The body creaked and groaned as it would do with an 87
mm,
year old. But because she's in Italy, she's still very busy
yes.
leaning. And I
Mm,
think that's even more poignant than anything else because there's still these 80-year-olds, 85-year-olds,
absolutely. Mm,
90-year-olds. You still see them walking about and they're still cleaning and they've got the black on and the nonna penny or whatever. And
mm,
they are still cleaning and they would creak and groan as they
mm,
do it. They're
yeah.
not in wheelchairs, they don't have crutches, but the body is starting to give out at that point,
Yeah.
which you
Mm.
mention absolutely beautifully. You really do. And I really do like Father Filippo. I think he's quite a nice
Yes.
priest. A
Yes.
nice priest. Um,
Mm.
right, let's go to another question. Let's move my things over. Um, what is something that the readers might not know about the book just from reading it?
Ooh.
You can think about that
Oh,
if
I don't know. Yeah,
you
that's difficult.
you can let me know on that one.
No,
I
I
put you
don't
on.
know.
No, don't worry. I'll put you on the spot a bit, haven't I, really?
Mm.
Are any of the characters based on real people that you know?
No, but what was interesting is that somebody I know was telling me about a very bossy friend of theirs and saying that this friend, well, like a friend of her husband's, is the sort of person who loves to tell you how to lead your life. And is constantly saying, "Oh, you should do this, you should do that. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you taking up this hobby? Why haven't you been? You should travel more. You should go to this place. You should go that place. You know, you're so unadventurous and all this kind of business." And that was kind of actually the original inspiration that I thought Stella was going to be this person who was torn in all different directions, and she was going to have a very bossy friend who was just like this, and then the sort of bossy daughter who flew out to Italy, and that's kind of, and in fact, it actually moved on quite a bit from that because Stella's friend is actually that we see briefly is actually pretty is very excited about Stella getting married, but she's got a good heart and she's not actually that bossy. But that was hearing this my friend telling me this story
Yeah,
about
right.
this sort of acquaintance who's constantly giving them the unwanted advice about what to do. So
Well, we've all
that
got
was a
one
kind
of
of
those.
inspiring original sort of person. Yeah, we all know someone like that. Yeah,
Yeah, we
and
really do.
mm,
Why did you choose that setting for this book? I mean, could the book have taken place in any region in Italy? What was
ah. I think for this one, with the without giving too much away, this particular aspect of the Second World War with the resistance
right? Right.
and the
Okay.
various and the also the some of the atrocities and things that is that I mean sure that happens in different parts of Italy, but this
Yeah. Yeah.
particular
Yeah.
region, it's there was a lot of that sort of thing going
Right.
on because
Right.
you had the strikers for northern I think it had to be northern Italy for the history, but also I think you had a lot of the sort of strikers in Turin and you had well Liguria was a big and also it was the a lot of the kind of was an and also I actually read two books that were kind of connected historically um with this part that I draw on, and those two books, which are real life autobiographies of they were both in Liguria.
Right.
So
Right.
I
So
knew
that's
that
why
that
it was
worked with the
set.
region,
Okay.
and
Okay.
then I started just doing more research
Yeah.
into the
I mean,
region. Yeah,
usually,
it
if you
fitted.
have your romance, contemporary, feel-good fiction, you wouldn't normally have to do this much research, would you?
Oh, yeah.
Would
I did
you
a
or
lot of
not?
research actually for the Italian Island Secret because
Right.
I actually go back there
Right.
in quite a
Okay.
few chapters to the 1950s,
Yeah.
late
Yeah.
1950s in
Yeah.
Ischia, and that was
Right.
really interesting because of the development of the island from a very rural, agricultural, wild place with basic sanitation and no fresh water, etc. And that change of the island to the place where it's got quite a lot of hotels and things today was largely fueled by the coming of the film industry. And
Mm.
that's what started sending people, you started getting people over there and artists and film directors and various people. And that showcased the island, but it also brought money in
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
because, you could earn more in a week as an extra than
Right.
you'd earn, you'd earn more doing that for a week than you would for a month working in your fields. And suddenly you had the influx of money coming in and how that all changed the island. And also having to go back and find out more about that time and the sort of, I love that old sort of old movie star, old kind of
Yeah, the
history and
Hollywood
that kind of
thing.
thing. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was got research, but in a different in a different way. So that one was quite a lot of research. And yeah, what I'm trying to do is I am now, since I moved publishers, I've got a little bit of stepping back in the book, not it's definitely not historical fiction, but in the
No.
one is with my editor now, we go back to 1972
Oh, right.
a bit on the eye on yeah. So but I can't really say much about it because she hasn't
No,
I
no,
mean
no,
she
no.
hasn't read it. She might have read it, but she hasn't come
No.
back to me yet. She might say, "Oh, I hate all the bits in 1972," But we go
Is,
back into the
is
early
there a
70s there.
period
Mm.
in Italian history that you feel you would like to develop at all and have it in a book somewhere down the line? I mean, there's a lot of historical fiction ones out there, I guess. I
Mm.
don't really see many that go back much before that, unless it's to do with, immigration to the States or something
Mhm.
like that. Is there anything? Is there a period at all that you'd like to explore more in as a storyline? I'm saying basically.
I have got ideas for something, but that's a bit up my
Okay.
sleeve at the
Oh.
moment. But yes, that's a bit prior to the Second World War. But
Okay.
it's still a 20th century. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Mm,
Well, I am absolutely thrilled with the book, and I'm sure you are. I mean, it's really, you've got some amazing reviews.
thank you.
It's a really, really beautiful one. I mean, I think you consider yourself launched now, don't you, really, as an author and, books set in Italy.
Mhm.
So we'll have to find out. We'll find out what you're working on in the course of, over the summer and things
Yeah.
like that.
Mhm.
The books are available on Amazon, aren't they? All of
Yeah.
them, basically. We've got this one's an audiobook as
Oh
well.
yes.
Isn't it?
Since I moved to Boldwood,
Yeah.
all the books come out in paperback, ebook,
Mm.
or audio books, and also large print, which is quite nice. There's not a lot of
Okay.
books available in large print, so you can get the large print as well. But
Well,
they're
that's good.
sort of on all
Platforms.
platforms. Ones I haven't, to be honest, platforms I've never even heard of. But there's something called Chirp Audio in the States, I think.
Okay.
And they're on
Okay.
that for the audio. They're on Kobo. They're actually
Great.
on Spotify.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
the audiobooks and ebook, yeah,
Are
so
you? I was meant to ask you. I haven't listened to it
mm,
yet because I had I read it on my iPad on from NetGalley. The person that did the audio, do you get
mm.
much say in that? Are you happy with that? Was she Italian? Could she pronounce the words right?
Um, it was tricky because I'm using the same person who's like, she's a singer as well. She's got a I use her because she's got a lovely warm voice, etc.
Okay.
To be
Okay.
honest, I have not even listened to I should listen to whole of my audiobook. I think I listened to about half of one of them
Okay.
originally. And it's a tricky one because it's all a matter of taste
Yeah.
on how exaggeratedly Italian they do the Italian bits.
Yeah.
And I was just saying to my agent, what do we think of how this has turned out? But then I thought, well, I'll look at what I'll have to do is it's not what I think really, it's what the people listening to the book think. So
Okay.
I looked at the Chirp audio
Yeah.
and I don't know, 40 reviews or something. And it was an average 4.2 out of 5 stars. So I thought there was the odd person who said, oh, I didn't like her accent. I didn't think she said this properly. Whatever. I thought, well, if you get that sort of rating for the audiobook, then that presumably most people are happy, enjoyed it, like listening to that person reading it. And
You
that's
know,
really what counts rather than
I think
me
it's a
worrying too
really
much about an actual, did she say that word exactly correctly kind of
It's a
thing.
really difficult medium, I
Mm,
think, because reading the book, you've got your own imagination
yeah.
as to how they look and sound.
Mm,
When a film comes out, generally that's, oh, I didn't think he'd look like that, or, sometimes that
mm,
can divide opinion.
yes.
But with the audio book, you again, it's part imagination, but
Mm,
you're thinking, oh, I didn't think she'd sound like that. And how many voices is she doing? Is she doing Stella? Is she doing, Fernanda? How many for Philip? How many accents and voices is she doing to give the reader the full kind of immersive
mm,
experience on? And that's really difficult. It must be so difficult
yeah.
in a book with one voice, I guess.
Yes. I must actually listen to this one and see
Yeah,
how she's
you.
done it, how she's done Fernanda actually.
I noticed
Um,
the other day actually, and I thought,
mm,
oh, I must get this because I do like listening to audiobooks. But for me, the first thing is if it's somebody that has no knowledge of Italian, my God, they just Oh, it's like, the policeman and hello, hello. You just think good morning. And you think, no, 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 no. Please get somebody that knows how to speak Italian because you've got to have that to start with. So yeah, I thought the other day I must try and get that and
Mm,
listen to that and see how it plays out. Is it, how many voices does she do? Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
you don't get to choose who does it. Do you
They
really?
gave me, see, when I started using the same person I used in the
Yeah,
Ryan,
the last, right,
they sent
right,
me three because I had an audiobook for the first time with the Italian fiance, and
right, right.
yeah, and they sent me three clips of people, but they're clips of them saying the first couple of
Yeah,
paragraphs of a completely different book.
yeah,
So, and I'm like guessing, well, how are they going to sound doing my book? I don't know. And I had a choice of three, and my editor, my agent, and I liked two of them. So
yeah,
we
yeah,
decided to like sound the person who sounded like you'd like to sit and listen to their voice the sort of longest, really.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, actually, I've got some really complicated words in. Invitation to Italy. And actually, I was doing Italian classes and I had to say to the tutor, how do you say this? How do you say that? So I've no idea how she said those words. They were place names, though. And he said to me,
Oh,
I know. He said to me, why on earth did you make up those names? And I said, I didn't. They're real
they're
places. I would
they're
never have, great big long name for some beach in
yeah.
Florida, and I
You're the author for goodness sake. You can't like control everything, can you, really?
no.
You've got
Mm,
the publishers that are, leave it to us. We'll sort the title out. We'll get the audiobook title
mm,
done, sort of thing. You can't control everything,
mm.
can you?
But I like, I would just, I know that people, my neighbor who, the first one that came out said, oh, I'll get your book on audio. And so I listened to it as we drive down to Cornwall in the car. And she came back to say, I loved your audio, but you must make sure you always get the same person to read it and everything. And I thought, well, that's the reaction I want, kind of thing. And,
Yeah,
she wouldn't have been so effusive if
yeah,
she thought it was okay.
yeah,
She kind of would have
yeah.
been,
No, I,
but I just
but
thought that's
I,
what counts,
I think
really,
it's a bit subjective as
Yeah,
well
absolutely.
because, you've read the book. I mean, generally, I listen to audiobooks if I'm driving to the UK. So I've got 3 days of just me in the car. So I
Yeah.
just listen to audiobooks back to back. And there was one by an American author, a beautiful one set in Tuscany. But they just had an American, and he made such a dog's dinner of the place names and the wine and the food. And I thought, oh dear. And I put that in my review.
Hmm.
Because I said, if you're going to do an audio book of a book based in Italy that's been written in Italy, please be authentic for goodness sake and get somebody that can pronounce things properly. It just doesn't sound so good, but that's just me. Anyway, I want to thank you for your time this afternoon. And yeah, when the next one comes out, yeah, get me a copy, send me a copy, and
Yes. Oh,
we'll have a chat about it. But here's to you, Victoria, on a very beautiful, successful book, my dear. It really is. It's lovely. And gosh, you're just going from strength to strength, aren't you?
thank you so much. It was lovely chatting to you.
Yeah, and
Yes,
you,
great.
Victoria, and you. So let us know about the next one, and also I just want to say before we finish, if anyone is thinking of a book club and they want a nice romantic hint of romance, then this book is absolutely perfect for a book club. It really is. And I'm sure if anybody wants to contact you direct, you could sort something out with people, I'm
Mhm.
sure. Perfect, Victoria. Take care. One weekend.
And to you. Thank
Ciao.
you. Bye.